What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo here with Rob Mazaika, taking a look at tonight's NBA value, 9-game slate. And we got huge games on tonight's slate with Houston, Golden State, 236.5 in terms of a total. Golden State only 4.5-point favorites. I think obviously that's the one that we're kind of keying in on.
Yeah, the slate's actually pretty good. There's 9 games. There's 4 games that I'm really excited to watch. It's going to be both high-paced, and especially the marquee matchup with Golden State and Houston that everyone's going to be on and everyone's going to watch. But it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have a couple other games to really look at. I think my favorite maybe pivot game from that one in terms of looking at guys in the mid-range is that Lakers and Pacers. 220, just a 3-point spread. Lakers better off at home as well.
Yeah, that'll be lower owned. But my favorite is the Brooklyn-New Orleans because, I love playing guys against Brooklyn. We know that by now.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully Anthony Davis plays a full healthy 4 quarters for us tonight.
Yeah, there's not much injury news tonight. Jeremy Lamb's going to be out. Evan Fournier is doubtful, and Jody Meeks is going to be out. But as of 11 o'clock in the morning, that's all we have right now.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't look like we're waiting on a lot of game time decisions. We know about Rudy Gay, who's going to be done for the year. We'll kind of talk about him. We're looking at point guards here. In terms of value, you and I are kind of more looking at it paying up at this position, or at least using some of the mid-range.
Yeah, my favorite guy at this position, like I just stated in the New Orleans-Brooklyn game, is Drew Holiday. He's been really performing lately. He's going to get you hopefully you can get 30 minutes and this game stays close, and 30 minutes against Brooklyn with his points per minute, he could put up a 40 spot on FanDuel tonight.
Yeah, I think a great GPP play tonight. In terms of low ownership, I'm fine with him in cash games. But GPPs, I don't know how much ownership a lot of people are going to have to him, even with the great matchup.
Yeah, because I think a lot of ownership is going to go to Curry just because of the name, and I don't love him tonight, but I like Holiday as a lower-owned player tonight, definitely.
Yeah, I do too. Guys cheaper. That Utah-Dallas game, we were joking around with the total, 187. I'm not particularly fond of the game, but I can't get away from guys like George Hill, who just kind of keeps producing at his cheaper price tag. I don't mind him in terms of a value sense tonight.
Yeah, I don't mind him either. He's only 6,100 on FanDuel, and he can get you 50 fantasy points. We've seen him do it before.
Yeah, definitely. Reliable cash game option. Dallas on the back-to-back as well. I think it's just more their pace and their actual defense that really shows up on paper as them being a bad matchup.
Yeah, they're just a bad defensive team, but they play really slow.
Yeah, definitely. A couple cheaper guys. I'll let you kind of break this one down. Darren Collison, one of the cheaper options. Tough individual matchup, but obviously usage should shift to him just with the Rudy Gay news.
Yeah, I wrote up Darren Collison in our GPP article, so our premium subscribers could read about that more. But he's typically the guy who gets more run when Rudy Gay is out. His usage goes up a few percent, and I think it's about like 24% when Rudy Gay is out. And even though it's a very tough matchup against Memphis, I still like using him in tournaments tonight just because no one's going to be on him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Him and Garrett Temple, I think Ty Lawson's questionable for tonight's game as well, so they could be dealing with a really limited backcourt.
Yeah, so someone's going to have to play those minutes. Boogie's going to take up a lot of that usage, but the rest of it's probably going to go to Collison.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of mid-range guys, there's a group here: Elfrid Payton, Dennis Schroeder, Malcolm Brogdon. I don't mind targeting on tonight's slate, even with some of those guys in tougher spots.
Yeah, I like all 3 of those guys. Elfrid Payton's the most volatile out of all of them. We've seen him get 2 fantasy points in games where he's played 30 minutes, but we've also seen him put up 60 fantasy points in games. So he's definitely GPP only for me tonight. A little safer would be Brogdon. He's been consistently getting a little over 30 minutes a game, and he really hasn't had a bad game since he's been starting.
No, he definitely hasn't. He's a guy who produces across the board as well. D'Angelo Russell's an interesting guy tonight, kind of really mid-price range on both sides. I like him a little bit more on FanDuel. Really volatile as well of late, just because we've seen Luke Walton go to the bench and stick with the bench if the starters aren't producing. We saw that against Denver.
Yeah, he looked really bad the other night against Denver. So I don't blame Luke Walton for benching him. I'm hoping that he looks a little better tonight and gets back up to around 30 minutes because in this matchup against Indiana, he can go off.
Yeah, definitely. Big 220 total there. Really good spot for all those starters. In terms of pay up, I think you and I were on the same page. It was the first name that we mentioned. Damian Lillard, kind of our favorite pay up option.
Yeah, he's probably the guy I'd pay up for just because everyone's going to play Curry, and I don't want to play Curry tonight. Just personal preference. I'm not. You could use him if you'd like. It's going to be an up-paced game, but I would go Damian Lillard just because Philly's not very good at defending point guards. The total is fairly high at 209.5, which is a decent game to target. I expect it to stay close, and Lillard's going to have to perform if Portland wants to win because they're not the best team.
No, they're definitely not. I mean, at this point, I wrote up. I was like, oh, Philly should be able to keep this one close, but maybe I should be saying Portland should be able to keep this one close because Philly's looked like the better team of late.
Yeah, Portland's only a 1.5-point favorite right now, so it's expected to stay close.
Yeah, definitely. Thoughts on Kyle Lowry, Kemba Walker? I mean, guys scoring off against each other tonight.
I'm not personally on them, but we've seen over the last year and a half that stacking point guards against Kemba Walker has been a good strategy in DFS, so it's a good tournament play to play both of them.
Yeah, definitely like him. And Kemba Walker, I mean, at home has always kind of been a better, shooter especially this season. So definitely don't mind those two guys. I think, as you said, it could be a little bit lower owned.
Yeah, and then I have one more guy on point guard. He's min-price on FanDuel. And with Fournier probably out and Jody Meeks out, I think DJ Augustine is going to get a decent run, maybe over 30 minutes tonight. And at minimum price on FanDuel, I'm okay using the guy that's going to get that many minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, played 34 against New Orleans. I mean, if that's a sign, it could be the minutes trending upwards. And we've seen kind of names be thrown around, C.J. Watson, Mario Hezonja, but nothing really ever comes about it.
Yeah, I think my favorite out of those that little bunch of Magic guards is Augustine just because I've seen him perform decent before.
Yeah, certainly. Moving on to shooting guard value here tonight. I mean, we talked about Meeks being out. We talked about Jeremy Lamb being out. I mean, Marco Bellinelli's a cheap guy. And I know a guy you like, Sean Kilpatrick. Obviously, this game is your favorite. The price has really dropped because, I mean, he's been in some tougher spots of late, but the minutes have still been, just above upper 20s or mid-20s.
Yeah, he's only 3,900 on FanDuel. And honestly, we were playing him when he was, 5,500?
Yeah.
And with getting the same run, this is one of the best matchups you could possibly get. And with Jeremy Lin out for God knows how long, Kilpatrick gets a decent usage bump.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I definitely like that game target. I mean, I don't mind, especially on tonight's slate with some of these high-priced guys that you want to get into your lineup, taking a shot with a guy like Kilpatrick.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's other guys down at that level, like we talked about Garrett Temple before with the Collison thing. I just prefer Collison to have the two due to the usage bump. And then Bellinelli with Lamb out. He's been getting about a little over 20 minutes a game since Lamb's been out, but he's fairly scoring dependent. But he can get you a couple rebounds and assists here and there, and maybe get you 30 fantasy points as a ceiling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, which is obviously great at his price tag. Lou Williams, I mean, back-to-back really strong games. If Luol Deng on the iffy side tonight, I mean, I don't mind him. Should get around 25, 30 minutes tonight, and obviously we know his upside. I mean, we've seen it really the last two games, and we saw him get up to like 7K earlier this year.
Yeah, he was going crazy at one point. I like him. The only thing is with that, like if you're going to use him, it's going to take away usage from D'Angelo Russell most likely. But he's still in a good spot, and he could still actually score over 40 fantasy points again in this one off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, and a cheaper option. So I think he's more just kind of a cheaper pivot if you're looking to get exposure to that one.
Yeah, he's still a very good value play tonight, though.
Definitely. And I mean, on DraftKings, there is the bonus of using Darren Collison as a shooting guard as well. So I think that kind of opens things up too.
Yeah, that opens up a lot of things. I love DraftKings because this multi-position eligibility, they're starting to get better with making guys the right positions. So it's easier to make a lineup over there.
Yeah, definitely. One guy from the Brooklyn New Orleans game, I mean, even though the minutes aren't high, Tyreek Evans has just been absolutely crushing. I mean, played 20 minutes last time out, 38 DK points. And I remember the game before against Brooklyn, he obviously went off, but that was without Anthony Davis. This is still a guy with GPP winning upside.
Yeah, I think he might carry a little higher ownership than we'd want from him just because a lot of the game log watchers are going to see that game against Brooklyn. They're like, oh, he scored 47 fantasy points or whatever. But people don't realize that Anthony Davis didn't even play in that game. So a lot of that usage went to Evans. He's still a good matchup in tournaments tonight. If his ownership's high, I'm probably not going to use him, though.
Yeah, I mean that's something. I mean, if say the minutes aren't necessarily all the way there for him tonight, or he just doesn't have that fantasy points per minute going, you can kind of definitely get a cheaper pivot, especially at that price tag now, where if you spend 5,800 on him on DraftKings and you only get about 25, yeah, it's not that great.
Yeah, he's the same price over on FanDuel, but like if you don't hear anyone talking about him all day, he's going to be a pretty good tournament play.
Yeah, certainly. As far as mid range guys, I mean, Klay Thompson, good exposure. Eric Gordon as well, probably two of my favorite mid value shooting guards.
Yeah, Klay Thompson's he's one of my favorite players in the league actually, but tonight's a great spot for him because he'll get the Harden defense, he'll get the Eric Gordon defense, and he could definitely go off in this matchup. When his shots fall, and we've seen him score 37 points in a quarter, so he's got upside.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, outside of that, I don't see myself really paying up. I mean, obviously I can pay up for Harden, but guys like DeRozan, Batum, not really on my radar tonight.
Yeah, if I'm paying up, I'm just going straight to Harden with the. I mean, he's probably going to be the highest owned player tonight, but that game's going to be fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, and we move over to small forward. I mean, Kevin Durant is my favorite player on the board tonight. I don't see how you kind of get around using him. He's cheaper than basically every other superstar going tonight.
Yeah, he's only 10-5 on FanDuel, but like we haven't really seen like a 70-point outing from him, which I'd want for someone at 10-5 as an upside. But I mean, this matchup's going to be great. He's probably going to get over 55 fantasy points at least.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think this one stays close as well. You know, if this game was in Golden State, I mean, obviously Houston pushed them to, overtime last time out, but, I think this one's going to be close and basically probably the highest scoring on the night, obviously.
Yeah, these are two teams who actually, they're both title contenders. I think Houston could give Golden State a run for their money in the playoffs.
It certainly could. I mean, we'll kind of work our way down here. Are you on Jimmy Butler tonight or a little too expensive now?
He's 9,800 on FanDuel. I could never pay that for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, with Durant right there, it just makes it easier, and especially with Paul George, basically, 2-3 grand cheaper.
Yeah, Paul George, speaking of him, he's only 7,400, and that's pretty cheap for him. In a matchup against the Lakers, which he could have a good game, but we just haven't seen that huge game from him yet this year.
No, we really haven't. I mean, you could argue that Jeff Teague's kind of eaten into his upside a little bit. We've seen Miles Turner have some bigger games. It just seems to be he's kind of the odd man out in terms of ceiling right now, and it's kind of weird to say given it's basically was his team.
Yeah, I honestly think he only has like a 45-point ceiling, which is, I mean, it's decent for his price, but you could do better.
Yeah, I think so right now. I mean, there aren't a lot of guys in that mid-range that I'm really excited about. I mean, Gordon Hayward is a little too expensive for me in that type of slow-paced matchup. I'd rather take guys more on the bigs or George Hill.
Yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. I'm leaning towards the lower mid-range for this position. Like I like guys like Trevor Ariza. He's 5,500, and we just talked about how that game's going to be fun. Aaron Gordon will get a usage bump with Fournier and all these other guys out tonight. So hopefully he can get over 34, 35 minutes, and he can definitely put up a good score for only 5K.
Yeah, I like Gordon. I mean, great GPP. And I think he's a great pivot off of Ariza, too, because I think, as you said, I think Ariza's going to be the higher round just because of that game. But yeah, with Gordon, I mean, great matchup. Milwaukee's allowing the most points to small forwards this season. As far as that, I mean, we do have a couple of guys that are, Brandon Ingram, if Dang's out, we'll see 30-plus minutes. I like the way he's been playing. I mean, just kind of starting to do it a little bit all around right now.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty well with Deng out. He didn't look good at the beginning of the year, but he's starting to get a little more comfortable. He put up 33 fantasy points last game out, followed by, he just had a 16-point game, but then he had a 28-point game before that. So he's got very good upside for his cheap price.
Yeah, and I mean, at that price, I mean, it's kind of low risk at this point.
Yeah, and then another guy around that range is Matt Barnes. We talked about with the Sacramento thing, Rudy Gay out. Matt Barnes, he's probably going to get the start tonight. It's just I don't know how much he's going to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you look at this Memphis game, and I think if this was a better matchup for those guys, would be all over it a little bit more. I think they're all great GPP plays because I don't know how much people are going to be looking at that game because of the matchup. So I think it's still viable to really target, though.
Yeah, and last time out against Memphis, he played 33 minutes and scored 33.1 on FanDuel, which is a good score. That's probably his upside. That's as high as he's going to get.
And I mean, I really don't mind fading or, not fading guys against Memphis just because, you can get some low ownership on them.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that a lot of people won't be on tonight. I think the Sacramento-Memphis one is the one that a lot of people are going to avoid.
Yeah, certainly. Outside of that, though, I mean, I'm kind of done with small forward. It just seems like there's not really a lot to offer.
Yeah, I got two guys down at the bottom, just Bogdanovich and Levert, both on Brooklyn. Just because I like that game as a whole, I'm probably gonna have a game stack of that out there. But they're both guys who could score over 30 fantasy points, and they're the same price on FanDuel. They're 4,100 apiece, and Levert's a pretty good player. It's just a matter if they're gonna get all the minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Levert's just 3,300 on DraftKings. So, I mean, a viable punt option with 25, to 30 fantasy point upside.
Yeah, he's actually a great play on DraftKings at that price. I'm probably gonna have him in a decent amount of lineups.
Yeah, certainly, especially when you kind of get stretched out a little bit more. DK, that pricing's a little bit tighter.
Yeah, because you this slate, there's a lot of stars and scrubs that a lot of people are gonna want. So like, he'll be a way to get you Harden.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Maybe Durant if you wanted.
Anyone else there, small forward?
That's all I got.
Power forward, I mean, this one's I love power forward tonight. There's just a ton of loaded options. I mean, top options there. You can play Anthony Davis. Obviously, the matchup really doesn't get better. It's just a matter of is he going to play, and how long.
Yeah, I mean, I hate using that guy, but honestly, I'm probably gonna be all in on him just because I love this game. It's gonna be a fun game. Like I said before, I'm probably gonna have a game stack, but even on my non-game stacks, Anthony Davis, I'm probably gonna be all in on.
Yeah, I mean, great match. At this point, I mean, we don't need to really dive into the matchup. Brooklyn is basically the best fantasy matchup for opposing teams right now.
Yeah, especially a big man like Anthony Davis. He averages, I think it was like 17 more fantasy points at home than he does on the road. Brooklyn, they're the most blocked team in the NBA. They give up at least 6 blocks a game, so Davis should get probably 4 of those.
Yeah, I mean, in this month, he's absolutely been crushing. I mean, when healthy, I mean, averaging 27 and 14 in January.
Yeah, the only risk is he could get hurt tying his shoes.
Yeah, so I mean, I think for me, GPP only. I think if you're coming down as a pay-up option, Draymond Green's basically the second best guy.
Yeah, Draymond Green. Yeah, I think he's going to get – like I said, this game's going to be the marquee game of the night. I think everyone's going to play everybody from this game. Draymond Green, we saw him have a huge game against Cleveland the other night in national TV, so there's no reason to expect he's not going to go out and try to do that again.
Yeah, I mean, triple-double upside. His defensive numbers are always solid. I mean, has basically been a block machine of late. You're looking at 10 in the last 3 games. So he's a guy, I mean, I think overall the upside's probably much second best to Davis in terms of the position.
Yeah, most probably. There's just not a lot of guys at the very high end because we only really have Anthony Davis, Millsap, and Green who are fairly expensive. So I think the masses are just going to go to Draymond Green.
Yeah, definitely. And then you and I were talking, earlier about this mid-range. Like both sides of that Indian Lakers game, Julius Randle and Thad Young, reasonable prices. Julius Randle's been kind of struggling a little bit of late, but I think he's in a good spot to kind of rebound here.
Yeah, I like Julius Randle a lot tonight just because he's been so bad lately, but I think that's really going to drive his ownership down. And eventually he's going to get back to normal, and his price is going to keep dropping. So I'm just going to keep using them up until he gets that production again in tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that price tag on FanDuel is really nice, 6,500. In terms of that Milwaukee-Orlando guy, I mean, Jabari Parker, Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka is somewhat intriguing at his price, but I think more of a GPP play.
Yeah, I think he's more of a tournament play also. He's been doing well lately. It's just his last game out, he needed the 5 blocks just to even hit his value. So it's a tough spot for him. He's tournament only for me. And then Jabari Parker, he's going to get you probably 35 minutes in this game tonight. It's just we haven't seen a huge upside game with him other than against the Wizards a couple weeks ago.
I think that price is just too high for me. I mean, on a 9-game slate, I just feel like there's other options than Parker.
Yeah, he's 7,400, and you want at least 35 from him, and that's probably always going to get you.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, cheap guys, I don't mind Zach Randolph. I mean, he's been playing really well of late, coming off a down game against Washington. That should drop his ownership down. And obviously a great matchup against Sacramento.
Yeah, like you said before, it's going to be a game that no one's going to be targeting. So he's a good tournament play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how do you feel about – I was kind of looking at the Philly power forwards. I mean, Ilyasova, Saric. I just – it's a matter of who's going to get that run. I mean, just because Embiid sucks up all the usage in the front court.
Yeah, I prefer Ilyasova just because he's been playing well even with Embiid, and he can get you 30 minutes in this game tonight. And Portland's the worst in the NBA against defending power forward, so it's a matchup that he could exploit. It's just Embiid gets so much usage that it really takes away from Ilyasova, Saric, Covington, the rest of the team.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, and that's what I kind of brought up. It just seems like power forwards against Portland is always something you want to talk about, at least on a slate with them in it. And, I don't mind them as kind of GPP targets.
Yeah, and even Nerlens Noel's in the mix now because he might play 20 minutes tonight, and he gets the same matchup as they do.
Yeah, definitely. Outside of that, I mean, I think that mid range is just basically where I'm heading. I know you like Trevor Booker as well in that game, the New Orleans one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to say it anymore. That's gonna be my highest targeted game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of great value on that game as well.
Yep. And then you mentioned Thad Young before. Yeah, I like him a good amount tonight against the Lakers. It's a matchup where he can get maybe 3 steals, 4 steals in this game. Potential double-double upside if he grabs some rebounds and is aggressive tonight. GPP only just because we've seen games where he just hasn't come out, guns blazing, going all out. But he has a very high ceiling for his cheap price tag.
And that's how I feel with this indie team. It just seems like, there's 5 guys that are or 4 guys that are basically all fantasy worthy, yet, we see their ceilings and floors capped at times by each other.
Yeah, I agree there.
So, moving over to center, I'm not really looking to use Cousins tonight on the road against Memphis. For me, if the pay-up option, Joel Embiid's just been super consistent, even in 28 minutes. I mean, in this matchup against Portland, I like him a lot.
I like Cousins for tournaments just because he's going to be very low owned, and honestly, I don't see a lot of people having him. And he's only 10,600, which is only 100 more than Durant. So everyone who has that salary remaining, they're just going to try to get Durant and not worry about Boogie. But I like Boogie, tournament only because of the matchup. And then Embiid, it's a great spot for Embiid tonight.
Yeah, he's just, we're talking bigs against Portland that just transitions into Embiid. I really like him. I like the correlation of using like him and Lillard in kind of a game theory there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get you more than 28 minutes, but he could score 50-something fantasy points in those 28 minutes. It's insane, this guy.
Yeah, I mean, the fantasy points per minute's off the chart. I mean, if you're looking down a little bit, I like Rudy Gobert, but more so on DraftKings. There's a pretty big difference in between him and Embiid. Gobert's just 7,100 compared to Embiid at 84. FanDuel, it's a little bit closer.
Yeah, I like Gobert, ownership play, game theory play. Gobert, he's probably going to get at least 15 rebounds in this game. Dallas is the worst rebounding team in the NBA, and, Gobert does that a lot. He's got double the upside. He can get 3 or 4 blocks in this game. He could put up 50 fantasy points in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back 50-plus DK point games against Phoenix or Orlando, and a Dallas team that he's dominated already, averaging 14 and 11. So, yeah, I think in terms of a pivot, he's a great option.
I agree there 100%. And then going down, we mentioned earlier that Indiana-Lakers game. We like that a lot. But Miles Turner, he's a good play tonight. We've seen him have some huge games this season. But like we just said, if they come out aggressive, then they'll all have their upside games. But we've seen him very passive, very relaxed in some of these games so far.
Yeah, we really have. I do like Miles Turner quite a bit. There is that upside. And he always has that block shot upside as well.
Yeah, definitely there. And then you mentioned before we started the show, Brook Lopez and Vucevic on DraftKings. Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, I mean, they're both 7,400 on FanDuel, which I don't mind the price, but with Miles Turner there at 6,700, Valanciunas cheaper. I mean, Embiid not too far off. I kind of like them more on DK, 6,800, 6,700, just a little bit cheaper and where you can roster two. I think Brook Lopez is obviously a good play in that game. I mean, I think if you're looking at a game stack, obviously he's your top nets option.
Yeah, he had a great game against the Raptors last time out. I mean, he's owned the Raptors in his career, though, so I kind of expected that. He should have a decent game tonight. It's going to be tough for him to get rebounds over Anthony Davis. He's a terrible rebounder for a 7-footer.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he's always a guy who, he could score 28 real points, but come away with only 35 or 37 coming out of the night.
Yeah, you really need him to score over 30 real points just to hit his value.
Yeah,
at this point.
Come away with a couple defensive stats as well.
Yep, and then I have one guy at the very cheap end. It's not Hernan Gomez tonight, even though I wish I used him the other night. But it's Ivica Zubac. I've never heard of him before the other night, but he got 26 minutes against Denver, which is one of the toughest matchups in the league. And he put up a double-double with 3 blocks, leading to 35.1 points on FanDuel. And I just don't see him getting less than 15, 20 minutes tonight after the performance he had last time out.
In a great matchup, I mean, Indy, rebounding-wise, they ranked 26th. This is just an up-tempo game that I'm going to be looking to target. I mean, as far as a punt play, I mean, GPP-wise, if he gets you that again, you're sitting really pretty, especially with all those high-price guys you can put around him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you should never put him as a core play. Like, he's going to be tournament only. He's a deep tournament play, but if you really want to punt at center and do something nuts, Zubac he has the upside at minimum price, a little over minimum price.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, a couple mid-range guys I think wrap it up for me at this position, Mason Plumlee and Jonas Valanciunas. Two guys right in that 5K range. I don't mind, just given that their matchups are, on the plus side.
Yeah, I don't mind them either. They've both been playing solid lately. I think Plumlee might have a little bit more upside just because he should be able to get at least 2 blocks in this game, but he has upside for 4 blocks in a good game. We've seen him score over 40 fantasy points a couple of times, and he's only 6,300 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy, good facilitator as well. I mean, he's a guy who can get you 4 or 5 assists too from out of the big man, which is also impressive.
Yeah, my only concern with him is the fouls. He might foul and beat it a lot.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough matchup there for him down low in terms of, trying to put up with him. But outside of that, I mean, it probably isn't going to crush your lineup if that does happen.
Yeah, that's true.
So, anyone else you want to mention?
That's all I have at center.
So, highest scoring player tonight?
In general?
Yeah, overall. No restrictions, nothing.
I think Harden goes bonkers.
Harden goes bonkers. I'm going to go Durant.
I think Harden goes nuts in this game. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, whole matchup there. It's going to be pretty exciting to watch. But, yeah, I got Durant in that same game. I think, they're going to feed basically back and forth.
It's going to be a fun game, guys. I'd watch it if I were you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ESPN game tonight. So that's going to wrap things up here. Be sure to check out our cheat sheets and the rest of our great content. And also, Rob has his GPP picks coming out soon.
Yep. Zubac, do something crazy tonight, win a GPP, and send me a screenshot.
Cheap centers. All right, guys. Take it easy.
See ya.